Yesterday, the government of the United States imposed tariffs of 25% on the products we export to their country. Look, it has been 30 years since this did not exist because we have a free trade agreement. The last free trade agreement was signed by President López Obrador with President Trump himself. This measure of 25% tariffs has effects for both countries, but it has very serious effects for the economy of the United States because it will greatly increase the costs of all products exported from Mexico to the United States. It will have a 25% higher cost according to these measures approved by the U.S. government. There are documents that support it, and according to this, one of the reasons for setting this tariff is due to fentanyl coming from Mexico to the United States and which causes illness and deaths from overdoses. But even more irresponsible, terribly irresponsible, is that the White House issued a document saying there are links between the government of Mexico and organized crime. I want to talk to you about the statement I published through my social networks yesterday. There I explain who the ones really are that have links with these criminal groups, the reason for overdose deaths of Americans, and I also say that if they want to act, they should not set their sights on Mexico, but on their own country, where they have done nothing to stop the illegal sale of this and other drugs. First of all, as I said yesterday, we categorically reject the slander the White House makes against the government of Mexico of having alliances with criminal organizations, as well as any interventionist intention in our territory. Sovereignty is not negotiable. If such an alliance exists anywhere, it is in the arms factories in the United States that sell high-powered arms that are for exclusive use of their military to these criminal groups. This was demonstrated, look well, it was demonstrated by the U.S. Department of Justice on January 8th of this year. Here I have the document that was published on that date, where the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives Office, which depends on the Department of Justice, look well, acknowledged that 74% of the arms used by organized crime in Mexico come illegally from the military industry of their country. Our government has seized over 40 tons of drugs in 4 months, including 20 million doses of fentanyl. We have also detained more than 10,000 people linked to these groups. We have a strategy. We address the causes and fight impunity every day. We work for the security of the country. Now, if the government of the United States and its agencies wanted to address the serious fentanyl consumption in their country, why don't they start by fighting the sale of narcotics on the streets of their main cities? Or how is it that people with addictions buy this drug? Why have we never heard of arrests in the United States of the American criminal groups? How is it that money laundering from criminal groups there is not investigated? Why don't they put all their intelligence to work to detect the criminal groups that sell fentanyl in their territory or other drugs? Well, they could also start a mass campaign to prevent the consumption of these drugs and take care of their youth, as we do in Mexico. The consumption and distribution of drugs is in their country, and that is also a public health problem that they have never addressed. Why don't they ask themselves what the underlying reason is for such drug consumption that has been going on for so long in the United States? Also, yesterday, I mentioned it. Look, the synthetic opioid epidemic in the United States originates from the indiscriminate prescription of these types of medications, which was authorized by the Food and Drug Administration, the so-called FDA, as demonstrated by a lawsuit against a pharmaceutical company. There are series on television that explain it. What's more, the drug that caused the synthetic opioid crisis is still being sold in their pharmacies with official authorization.